All right, so this week in PAX Day, 90,000 of us logged in and we're playing actively. That's across the PC Game Pass, GeForce Now, Steam, the Epic Game Store. We were everywhere, and holy cow, 90,000 players. The server feels like it. Some people are still reporting that they have some light population in certain areas, but other places are definitely filling up, have a lot of players going on, a lot of people placing plots and having fun in the game. And that's incredible. Congratulations, Mainframe. Obviously, there's still a heck of a lot more work to be done. We want to see those numbers constantly growing and growing and growing. But this is a great start for a game that just a year ago was entering into early access. So huge kudos to the team. So excited for what's to come. And that's actually the other part of what came out this week. We got a little bit of a teaser of some of the things, some of the updates that are going to be coming, the things that are being worked on based on the feedback that us, the players, have provided, the developers. And then we also got a new patch on Arcadia, which is the public test server for PAX Day. So we're going to talk about all of that and a little bit more. So hello and welcome back, all of you amazingly professional consumers of PAX Day and PAX Day related content out there. I'm Altari, the professional gamer, and this is another episode of the PAX Friday Review, the show where we talk about all the fun, interesting, new, and exciting information that has dropped for PAX Day over the last week. Like I said, 90,000 players. That was the big update in terms of numbers, but we also got a teaser for all of the things that are to come based on what feedback we have given the devs. So we're going to hop over to talk about all of that. But before you go too far, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe so you can get notified whenever we come out with new PAX Day or PAX Day related content, and share this video with any of your friends who are looking to stay up to date with all news PAX Day. Without further ado, let's go ahead and head on over to the official Discord to take a look at a couple of these announcements. I'll see you over there. All right, so here we are on PAX Day's official Discord, and like I said earlier, 90,000 active players on all platforms. That's great. Obviously, we want to see that number constantly grow and improve, but this is a great start for PAX Day on its 1.0 release. It looks like Mainframe is pretty happy about it as well. We've also got some builds already popping up and getting featured. We've got some castles, some homesteads. Everything is looking pretty cool. And we've got a lot of players that are coming online and coming to go do all of the fun activities with us. So what we're actually going to be spending most of the time looking at today is PAX Day's devs to-do list. This was posted earlier on Friday, and they are sharing a lot of different goals that they have as a team. And these are all based off of the feedback that was provided by us, the players. Now, it is also important to note that just because they aren't mentioning all of the PvP, PvE stuff that they've mentioned before, like in the actual interviews that we had with the developers just a couple of, like maybe a month or so ago, that stuff isn't covered here. These are all things based off of the feedback that we, the players, gave them. It is also important that they're not giving specific timelines and that priorities can shift. They do want to be transparent, but they don't want to give specific deadlines and then not be able to meet those deadlines. So that's why they haven't actually given a lot of timelines here, is because they're not going to do that unless they know that it is already done and it is a fact. So that being said, let's go ahead and dig into what some of these things are. First and foremost, customizable permissions. They already have had plans for this, and some of these are going to be coming what seems like sooner rather than later. They are waiting for a final version before they push it to live, but it should be coming sooner rather than later. So if you're over on Arcadia, the public test server, you should be seeing these improvements coming probably in the next couple of weeks. The plot ownership transfer is something that is being worked on as well. This is going to be a really huge improvement for large clans. I know for the Golden Company, for example, we have a lot of players. We have a lot of plots that have been placed down. The last thing that you want to do is have one of those plots expire, because it is going to be absolute hell to replace that plot after it has disappeared. It'll be way better to just be able to transfer the plot ownership and have someone else pay the tokens for it. And that is what also leads us to the next one, which is gifting or paying for plots for others. So this is something that is on their to-do list. This is going to be really, really great for managing larger communities, because then people can just kind of pay into or gift their tokens to a community leader, as opposed to having everything kind of hodgepodge together. It's just going to make it a lot more smooth in that way, I feel like. And then also they wanted to address being able to purchase tokens only without the premium bonus. That is something that is also in the works, so that it'll probably be a slightly lower pricing. But then there's also something that is near and dear to a lot of our hearts, and that is trees regrowing through structures. So it's a lot more complicated than we think it is. It's something that has been a constant comment throughout all of early access. It is still something that they are working on. They know that it is a problem. It's not just as easy as turning something off or on. So they don't have a precise ETA on this, but for the time being, they are pretty much ready to make it so small trees, the saplings, will not grow through plots, and they will be able to hide also small foliage from underneath foundations after they've been placed over. And then in addition to that, they are working on fixing the plot holes that exist in the middle of 4 plots. So it is an annoying thing. I know many of us have seen it and want it fixed. However, the issue is with the area calculation and how it works. They have to actually do some probably complicated math in order to get that to work out correctly and still maintain all of the other plots and everything. Last thing we want is them pushing a plot update and then having everyone's plots explode in some way. But they are working on it. It's just not a trivial fix, so it is going to take some time. And we've known that for a while. Next, we have moving placed structures / chests. So being able to pick up part of a structure or a chest that already has a bunch of stuff in it and just pick the chest up and then put it back down somewhere else. They are saying that they want to add this feature, but they can't promise when it's going to be available. So what to me that means is it is going to be quite a whiles away. But then also allowing plots to be placed over roads. In some cases, people can already do this. However, you're not technically allowed to be able to do this, but it is something that they are working on and they want to have in at some point, but they don't have an exact time frame yet for when it will be. But how cool would it be to have a road and then be able to put something over on top of the road? That's stuff that we already do in a lot of our builds, but this would be for the actual roads that are populated in the game specifically. They are also working on adding more roles for clans. That's something that's in the pipeline. I would expect that that's going to come around the feudal system launch or the alliance launch for earlier in 2026, just based on how that is all coming. Dueling is on the to-do list. At one point in time in the last dev interview, we talked about dueling. It sounded like it was definitely on the table and it was something that they were working on. That might have been slightly deprioritized to get to some more pressing matters, but we'll see. I think there's still a likelihood that we'll see this before the end of 2025. Then they also said that they are working on an update to crafting, and they are saying that that is quite a tedious thing and they are going to make work of it. However, it is something that they are definitely working on right now. Then when it comes to resources, mostly plants, people are saying that they're too small to be easily spotted. They're working on a fix for this soon. I don't know. I'm not necessarily the biggest on alchemy, so I don't fully understand the struggle of going and looking for some of these things, like blueberries, for example. However, I also hope that they don't make them incredibly large. Way back in the day, before early access, there was a bug where we had massively sized mushrooms. It really kind of destroyed the immersion, and it made it kind of unfun in a lot of ways. And really what I think is important is communicating to players where the resources actually are spawning at, like what zone they're coming in at, so that you can kind of know where they are, and then just being consistent with those things spawning in those areas. That I feel like is more important. I feel like it would also be really nice if in the journal you can kind of click on the resource that you're looking for, and then after you've found that resource in a particular area, it'll tell you, hey, by the way, this is the type of area that this has been found before, and you don't see it until you've found it the first time. Obviously, you can look this stuff up online regardless, but I'm a traditionalist. I love being able to discover things on your own and that thrill and feeling of discovery. Next, they also mentioned recycling and crafting directly from storage. It's on the list. There's no ETA. This is a quality of life thing. So if you're kind of in a building or nearby, the things that are in a box can be crafted directly. I think this is both nice and also incredibly dangerous, depending on how the permissions for this work. Because holy cow, if you have some new member of a clan that comes in and they're near a bunch of things that they can just craft, that means that they can just sit there, press a button, walk away for an hour, and then the next thing you know, all of your clan's resources, all of the steel ingots have immediately been dissipated, and it was because someone kind of fell asleep at the keyboard and pressed craft all. That would really, really suck. They're also working on buy and sell orders. The buy orders are actually a pretty big feature, and they will be one of the important items in a future content update. So sounds like we're going to be getting a pretty sizable economic update in the future, and that's where buy and sell orders are coming into. Stack sizes, I would also say with this buy and sell order, I am under the impression it would make sense for it to come in during the Market Town or Trade Town update, which is in Lioness. So there's probably going to be some buy and sell orders and some economy stuff going on around that time frame. Then stack sizes being too small. This is something that they're going to be implementing with a sizable crafting update. Basically, people just want to be able to craft things more efficiently or with a higher quality of life. They don't like having to put things down, pick things up. So the developers are going to be working on that. And then also inventory and chest sorting and transfer. So they have some designs for some of these and are in the process of figuring out when they can work on them. It's one of the most important things that they could do right now. So they have heard our cries, and they know that we want to be able to sort things into a chest so that everything can be organized and organized well without us really doing much. So that's a really nice feature. Hopefully they can get that out as soon as possible. And then move repairs to consumables. So they would like to do this. So what this is saying is taking like a repair craftable so that you can go and repair things on the fly. They are going to simplify repairing to allow you to repair everything at any of the crafting tables, so you don't have to bounce around all of them to finish repairing your gear. I don't know how I feel about that part. I don't know how I feel about not having to have all of the different crafting tables to be able to repair your gear. I do feel like there is some aspect here where, like, it just, I don't know. It doesn't make sense that you can go and repair all of your armor at a tailoring bench. And I don't know. I feel like maybe it destroys just the immersion of it, but who cares? I guess the counter argument is, why do you care, Eltari? I don't know why I should, but I don't know. It just feels dirty having repairs only at any bench as opposed to one. I would almost feel better if we just changed the name of a crafting bench to a repair bench, where you literally cannot do any crafting at that bench. However, the extra added benefit is you can repair literally anything at that bench. Maybe in the future, that could also be like a repair and salvage bench, where we already are seeing broken down items from the PvP zone. When you die in PvP to another player, half of your stuff basically is going to dissolve into nothingness. Well, that nothingness basically should be salvageable stuff. I think a new crafting bench that's basically repairs and salvage would be really, really awesome for that. Then we have change the weapon swap cooldowns. They do have a design for what they're thinking of for this. The reason why it's high right now is because players were swapping back and forth between them altogether too much, which was kind of ruining a lot of the balance, but it looks like they are working on a way to do that differently. I think a common example is if, for example, you're using a bow to pull something. I don't know why you would be, but if you were, then you would swap to your actual melee weapon. And by the time you actually were able to use one of the abilities from your melee weapon, the fight was basically already over and you wouldn't even get to go through a round of cooldowns. They are, speaking of the bow, upgrading it. That is issue that they're aware of. Basically, the skill level required to upgrade it becomes really, really difficult. I don't think I knew. Maybe I have known like 1 or 2 people to get to level 40 in bow. It's not a really common one. You really only use bows to go hunting right now because there's no skills associated with it. They are working on that as well, so that'll probably come with a new update. They have one new weapon, at least one new weapon type that they're working on right now. One weapon type that disappeared a long while ago was the Zweihander. It was the, oh my god, large sword. It's a 2-handed sword, not a great sword, but it basically behaved similar to one. It had a couple of different skills associated with it, but it was a fun swing, spray to pray, just big old sword. It was great. It was awesome. It was comparable in some ways to the Great Axe, I thought, in many ways, but would be cool if that's coming back. Or maybe at one point in time, Pax Dei had crossbows. I don't know why they'd add that before they do a lot of upgrade work on the bow, but we also could be hammers, maybe even some kind of flailing, ball and chain type thing. A flail in some way would be really cool too. There's a lot of opportunities. There's a lot of medieval weapons that haven't been added to the game yet. And then they also talked about shield bash and its removal. So at the point, the point of the whole thing is that shield bash was a little too powerful. It was basically the main thing that everyone would walk around with. Now they've transitioned all of the main CC abilities and some of the weapons and gear spells. So they don't have an ETA on when shields are going to get some more love, but they do want to also increase offhand options beyond just the shields that we have now. There were a lot of different shields before, like bucklers, as well as the large kite shields, as well as the Viking style shields. I think we're going to see a lot more shield options and maybe 1 or 2 of the fighting when you have the 2-handed weapon, or not the 2-handed weapon, but 2 weapons, or a shield and a weapon. That offhand is going to actually get a skill associated with it. So one of the 3 abilities for the weapon side might be affected by the shield or whatever that secondary or offhand thing is. So that's going to be really cool. Also, I know a lot of people want like daggers as an offhand weapon, so that'll make some people really excited. Maybe that is what that new weapon is that is being spoken about. And then they talking about adding the map legend. So that the only reason why it was gone is because they added some more localization, and that legend wasn't ready for all of that either. Now we are going to go and take a look at some patch notes for today. We did get a hot fix this week. Earlier this week on the 21st, we got a patch notes that came out specifically for that. They removed the UI scaling option. They removed the floating numbers when getting XP in combat. This is actually a lot of the implementation from over in Arcadia. They removed the home label and keybind from the hub, implementing some new design for notifications when getting XP. They turned off the destruction of stackable items on death. This is actually a really big one. So when items are being stacked on death, they removed the destruction of them when you die. So that is now gone, at least for the time being. Other fixes, they did some updates to the lobby, as well as fixing localization and some issues with wonderful beard styles in the character creator. Smoothed out some audio transitions, fixed an auto renewal issue in the store, and then had a couple of technical updates as well. Then we do have a new update for Arcadia as well. Let me go ahead and open this in full view. So some new audio added for new Inquisitor grunts. Looks like here. Now, in terms of, this is under audio, but I wonder if it's new audio for Inquisitor grunts, or if Inquisitor grunts is a new mob that's coming into the game and it is also getting new audio. That is not yet to be seen. But another big one is that adult birch trees are now going to be hardness 1, meaning that a bronze axe, an initial bronze axe, would be able to chop it down, which is really huge for a lot of players there. For Game Pass, they added a step before entering the lobby to notify Game Pass players their Microsoft account is being linked. That's not really too big. They did some localization stuff as well, fixing some audio. Another one for resources, low tier corrupted boar now correctly drop the correct animal faction related relics like mottled larvae, gadfly larvae, and all of that. That is pretty much all of the changes that have happened for the game this week. 90,000 players. Holy cow. I know we went through a lot. We went through some new direction changes. We also went through a whole heck of a lot when it comes to the to-do list for the devs as well. I'm very excited for all of the stuff that's coming. Like I mentioned at the start of going through this list, this isn't the comprehensive list or roadmap that is coming. There is way more that is being worked on with like feudal houses and feudal shrines and alliances and parishes and all of that. But this is just some of the stuff that they're working on in the immediate to longer term future for players based on the feedback that they gave. So this is completely different from the other content that they are working on. This is not all of what they are working on, y'all. I know some of you might misread that and get a little upset about it, but have no fear. They are still working on other things. It's just that these are the quality of life topics that they want to talk about for this week on their to-do list. So if you liked this video, please do consider to hit that like button, subscribe so you can get notified whenever we come out with new Pax Day or Pax Day related content. Share this video with any of your friends who are looking to stay up to date with Pax Day. Don't forget, you only have a couple more days really to get your free code that you had if you're a founder off to one of your friends. Don't hesitate. Just go share that code, spread the good word. Get people playing Pax Day. It's really fun. At the end of the day, you don't have to subscribe in order to have fun. You just need to be in the game, finding that community, enjoying the time that you have there, building stories, building communities, and that's really where all the joy is for Pax Day. That's all I have for this week's PAX Friday review. I hope you enjoyed. Until the next one, I'm Altari, the Professional Gamer.